Okay, so to start with, actually, the question I actually want to ask you
Yes.
was to talk to me about your journey. So, discuss a little bit about how it's been for you so far. Obviously, it starts wherever you want to start it, but also just like how you feel about where you are currently right now, sitting here with me. And yeah.
So I think my journey, I mean, I've been a mum for a year and a bit.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're pregnant for like what feels like a decade, but it's only 9 months. So I've been a mum since the minute I got pregnant. And that journey it's been a roller coaster, I think is the only word to summarize it. There's moments in pregnancy alone where you're just so lost and you're just so confused with this big change. And like, I feel like as a woman, your change starts from the minute you get pregnant. You don't have 9 months to like mentally prepare. You're like thrown into it. And I was only 20 when I got pregnant, so just so young. And then I had her right before I turned 21, and I had an emergency C-section. So that whole journey in itself was something that I'd never planned for, the healing I'd never planned for, and then doing it alone and having to rely on my family and my people, like it taught me a lot. I had to grow a lot, and the whole first year has just been wild, and I'm finally in a space where I'm like, everything's okay, like I feel good, Aria's doing great, like I'm just so proud that I'm able to give her the life that I've given her so far. And it is very surreal. So sitting here is very surreal that I'm in my own home and you're coming over, like it is insane, and I feel that's how I feel.
Talk to me a little bit more about the beginnings of that. So you talked to me about how like you become a mom when you definitely found out you're pregnant.
Yeah.
What is that like? And like, you know, like how do you, what's the process towards, you know, having the kind of, I guess, acceptance that this is happening, you know?
It's a long one. I think you're in denial for a really long time because until that baby is born, until you see them in your arms, nothing is for sure. And just being responsible for a life from the minute you get pregnant, everything you do, the environment you're in, how you feel, it all affects the baby from the minute you're pregnant. So having that responsibility so quickly is it's a hard thing to adjust to. But I think once you accept that like this is really happening and like this is going to be your life now, I think you find peace with that. Obviously you have ups and downs, but you find peace with it to an extent. You're like, okay, this is really happening, this baby's coming. Once you see the crib in the house, you see the buggy, and you're like, okay, like, can I swear? Shit's getting real. Shit's getting real. Yeah. That's honestly how I would describe that whole process before you even have the baby. Like, yeah.
That's amazing. And then when you obviously like get to a point where the baby's now close, and it's like, are you thinking of like, what are some of the thoughts you're having about you? Like, you know, like obviously, like you said, you want to prepare the baby for the best environment. So you're thinking about, okay, how do I become the best mother for this baby and bring into the world and stuff like that? What's
It's
that like?
definitely a question I still ask myself. Like, how can I be a better mom? I don't think you ever find there's no answer. You just have to keep being there. But I think towards the end of the pregnancy, at least for me, like my pregnancy was really rocky, so I was really sick. I had hyperemesis, which meant like I was sick 24/7, like non-stop, and obviously everything with my work and stuff like was just all over the place. So I think I had a really that's okay. I think I had a really hard time towards the end of my pregnancy, and I was having a really hard time accepting like I had just changed the course of my life like forever just by making this one decision. That was a really tough pill to swallow. But then I saw her face, and then I was like, okay, well, okay, anyway, like, doesn't really matter, does it? Like, but it was tough. It was tough being pregnant.
Talk to me about that. How did it feel in that moment when you saw her face?
When I saw her face,
What's that? Do you remember? Like,
I remember that because I
cool.
had an emergency C-section, so I was in labor for like 30 hours. So by that point, I'm like, just get her out, like take her out immediately. Like I can't do this anymore. So when they took me into the surgery room, they were like, you know, like they're laughing and they're making jokes. You know, they're like, haha, like, you know, see you next year. I'm like, you lost your mind there. But like, I was just so out of it because I just didn't. This wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want a C-section, and I was really upset about that, which I vocalized quite a lot. And then they took her out and they held her up and they pulled down the sheet. I was like, initially I was like, ew, like that was in me. I was so gross. I was like, gross. That was so crazy. Like you're just seeing them. Cause I didn't push her out. I didn't feel it. So I'm just like, you just yanked that out of me. Like it's crazy. But when they brought it up to my face, I was like, that's insane. But I don't feel like that was the moment. I think the moment was when I got wheeled out after being stitched up, and I got to hold her for the first time because I wasn't the first person to hold her. Nor was I like the fifth person either. Like a lot of people held her before me. And then when I was in the room and they put her on my chest, like there's no words to really describe that feeling because you have to feel it to understand what that feels like. But
can you describe not the feeling then, but the like I guess I'm going to say feeling again, but I was just going to say like just how the room was, or how you were, like how
Everything,
you were thinking it was.
it all felt very silent. Like it was just me and her. Like that's literally how it felt. And there was a ton of people around, but
you just like zoned in.
yeah, I was so clocked into it, and she looked at me, and I was like, oh, like I would do anything for you. Like in that moment, I felt so much peace. And I was so worried that we wouldn't be able to have that bond because of the way I birthed her and because of the pregnancy and everything that I felt like I had lost during that pregnancy. But the minute she was on my chest, I kid you not, I was like, this is where I'm meant to be. Like, I made the right choice. Like, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So would you say in that moment then you were kind of forever changed?
Yeah, 100%. Because I knew what my role was. I knew what I needed to do. And I knew that it wasn't about me. It wasn't about how I felt. It was literally like, what can I do to make sure that she is good regardless, you know? Like, your mind shifts. Because real now, like they're looking at you, so you're like, you gotta get serious. Like, I'm quite an unserious person, Jeff. Like, I had to get serious, literally.
Okay, then talk to me a little bit more about that then. What's that shift been like, going from semi-unserious?
No, I was serious, but I wasn't.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then to becoming the person that you know you have to be for this baby.
I think, you have to like reflect on yourself and like the things that you're doing, and like, I've never been silly in life. I've always been like, always had a path. I've always been very work focused and everything. And I always thought that I'd be like the top of my field at such a young age. Like I always wanted to be the young to do it. Young to do it? Youngest to do it. Yeah. Correct English. I always wanted to be the youngest to do it. And then as soon as I had her, I was like, I actually don't care about anything else. Like keeping her alive, making sure she's good and happy. Like, you just change everything. I can't even explain that change because it happens so naturally, because your body, your motherly instincts kick in. Like you're completely in tune with them and nothing else. So it just is all biological, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to describe
that
it.
instinct you're talking about, that like motherly instinct. What's that like when it develops? Like probably when you first see her, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what does that even feel like? Because I know my mom has it for me.
She does. Your mom definitely.
And I'm like, I don't understand it.
I don't know. I feel like. I don't know, I feel like maybe because we're all like animals in some sense, right? And like animals don't have like technology and baby rockers and all these things. They just have that instincts to like protect their kids. Yeah. And I think the minute I met Aria, I was like, your brain, like it changes. Like biologically it actually changes. So you're in tune with like their sounds and the noises and this light shift in something in them. Even if you can't see it on them, like you can tell something's wrong or something's not right. And obviously when you get to know them more, you see their routine, you get used to their habits and their sounds and stuff. You kind of just, it develops with time. But I always say to my friends, even now, like she's 1 and she sleeps in her own room, so I will wake up 5 minutes before she wakes up every single time. No idea how. I have no alarm, no idea when she's gonna wake up. Like, your body's just in your body's just in tune with everything she does. Like I can't even explain it. Like you just have this urge. Like whenever we go outside, you're hyper aware. Like I can tell if someone's gonna walk behind me in the next 5 seconds. I can tell if someone's like close by. I'm constantly aware of everything. And even sitting here, I'm like, okay, like
you know exactly
I know exactly what she's doing, and I don't even have to see her to know that. Like just that kind of thing.
That's so beautiful. Talk to me. Oh, by the way, you can
yeah, I'm gonna have to go in a minute.
Whenever. What is some of the, like, obviously you talked about some of the moments beginning when you first, I guess bring her home, when you start like setting up the home, when you start building that relationship with what's some of the best moments and hardest moments that you noticed early on about being a mother?
Do you know what it is? I think my experience was so chaotic that I truly don't remember everything, because I had such bad postpartum depression, so I don't remember everything. It's kind of like a blur.
Kind of this experience you're talking about is such a blur, but there must be moments where you kind of like, you looking back now, stick out at you. Maybe just the hard moments, but some of the good moments too, because like you must have like, obviously that moment when you first meet her, like maybe a month afterwards, she's doing something, you're like, oh my god, that's crazy thing.
Like all the little milestones, like the first time she lifted up her head, the first time she looked at me, like could actually see me, because I like blind for a while. So the first time she actually saw me, or like the first time she smiled, or the first time she laughed in her sleep, like all her little first moments, like those are so surreal. Like she
Talk
just.
to me one of your favorite ones. Like.
Oh, my favorite one. The first time she laughed was, she would like genuinely laugh, like not just like a reaction laugh. She just laughed so hard, and I literally cried. I sat there and cried. I was like, oh my god, she can laugh. She's a human. I think that was one of the big ones, and I think obviously like the movement ones when they start crawling. Her first word was Coco, which is our dog at my mum's house.
So
I do not like that dog, okay? So it was like a running joke that everyone's like, oh, her first word's gonna be Coco. It's gonna be Coco. And then when she said it, I think she was like 7 months old. She said Coco. I was like, all right, I guess that was your first word. Then like, the girl wouldn't say mama for ages. Like, but yeah, I feel like those little moments, I don't know, they remind you, like, you know. And I think because I was breastfeeding as well for the first like 5-6 months, all of those little moments, like in the middle of the night where you're exhausted, you haven't slept, like all of that, and then I'd feed her, and she would look at me, and like I'd be like, that's okay. I haven't slept in like 3 days. It's actually okay. It's like, you look so happy. Like, as long as you're happy, like,
just literally at peace.
yeah,
That's
honestly.
amazing.